I wasn't on the invitation. No photo in the slideshow, no seat with my name. But I came anyway. Have you ever been erased from your own family, not with shouting, but with silence? No fights, no explanations, just excluded. I called off a wedding to someone who lied, and that was all it took. My mother crossed out my name from Ivy's graduation invite, literally. A blue pen, one stroke, and a sticky note that said, "Immediate family only." But I still came. I stood in the back, holding a gift bag with a taped-up photo, the one they once cut me out of. A letter, a velvet pouch. 5 years of trying, of sending cards that never came back. When Ivy finally opened it, she whispered, "You kept all of this?" I didn't need applause. I just needed the truth to exist again. If you've ever been quietly cut out of your family's life, this story is for you. Watch till the end, because sometimes one act of presence can be louder than years of silence. Before we dive into the story, if you're enjoying these meaningful stories, don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe to the channel so you never miss out on more. Now let's start the story together. I wasn't listed on the program. No photo in the slideshow, no seat saved. Still, I came. The lawn outside the University of Georgia's main auditorium shimmered under the May sun, sticky with early morning humidity. The folding chairs squeaked as parents shifted, fanning themselves with printed programs and sipping iced sweet tea from plastic tumblers. A breeze carried the scent of fresh-cut grass, reminding me of long-forgotten Saturday chores. I held the sealed gift bag close, its ribbon curling slightly from the damp air. Inside was a handwritten letter and a silver bracelet. Nothing fancy, but I picked it with care. In my other hand, the old notebook with a broken spine. I wasn't sure why I brought it, only that I couldn't leave it behind. The banners strung across the lawn read, "Congratulations, class of 2023, but Ivy's name was the one repeated, spoken in hushed pride. "Valedictorian," I heard someone say behind me. "Full ride, Yale bound." My sister had made it. I wasn't surprised. I skirted the roped-off family seating section, nodding at ushers without stopping. A volunteer in a crimson polo stepped toward me, asking, "Need help finding your row?" I smiled, not unkindly. "I'll stand." I wandered to the edge of the seating area, where the trees provided some shade. My flat sank slightly into the soft soil. From here, I could see the podium, the rows of folding chairs, the clusters of proud families. It was a scene I had once imagined myself in, years ago, before the words, "We're doing what's best for the family," erased my seat at the table. "Claire?" a voice asked. I turned. Professor Mallory, older now, but still with the same wire-rimmed glasses and quiet presence. He had been the only one who ever wrote comments in the margins of my papers that made me think harder, not smaller. "It's good to see you," he said, offering no surprise, only sincerity. "You holding up?" I nodded. "I heard Ivy made valedictorian." He smiled faintly. "She's bright, but I still remember your paper on patient silence. Some echoes last longer." My throat tightened, but I managed a soft laugh. "You always knew how to underline without red ink." He tilted his head. "Being present matters, Claire, even if no one announces your name." He moved on, blending back into the crowd, and I was left with my own breath and the weight of memory. I looked down at the gift bag, fingers tracing the edge. For a moment, I considered leaving it on Ivy's chair unnoticed. But then I whispered, to no one in particular, "Maybe today I'll stop being the echo." And with that, I stepped closer to the back row, still uninvited, but no longer unseen. They didn't exile me in one big moment. They erased me piece by piece, like mildew in the corners of a room no one cleans anymore. It began in 2018, though the cracks had formed long before. The morning light in my tiny apartment above the pharmacy in Decatur had that orange tinge of late October. I remember sitting at the kitchen table, phone still in hand, the silence louder than the voicemail I'd just left. No callback. Again. I had called off the engagement 2 days earlier. He'd lied, and I wasn't going to build a life on top of rot. I expected heartbreak, sure, but not the kind that came from my own family. Mom's voice over the phone had been cold. "You've humiliated us," she said. "What are people supposed to think?" Ivy texted me just once. No punctuation, no warmth. "Sorry it didn't work out. Mom's really upset." That was it. After that, I stopped being included in group chats, then in holiday plans. I found out about Thanksgiving from an Instagram story Ivy posted. My chair, the one with the faded blue cushion, conspicuously absent from the table. No one mentioned it. No one asked if I had plans. Then came 2019. My birthday card to Ivy was returned. Moved, no forwarding address. The handwriting looked suspiciously like Mom's. In 2020, I tried again. A simple card, a hand-folded crane tucked inside, a sticker Ivy used to love as a child, sunflowers and sparkles. No reply. But when Aunt Lenora mentioned the bracelet from the family that Ivy wore to Christmas dinner, I recognized it. It was the same one I sent in August, wrapped in recycled gold tissue. Mom had peeled off the tag and reassigned it. Ivy thought it came from the dog. Literally, the card was signed "Love, Teddy." I laughed when I heard that. Not because it was funny, but because it made everything so absurdly clear. By 2021, the silence wasn't even cruel. It was curated. I wasn't a black sheep. I was a blank page, one they chose not to write on anymore. Still, I kept sending the cards, one for each birthday, each one folded with care, sticker placed just right. Ivy used to like ladybugs. I remembered that. No one else probably did. But last year, I paused. I held the envelope in my hand. The same cream-colored paper, the neat cursive, the memory of Dad teaching me how to write an address properly so it looked grown up. And then I turned and dropped it in the kitchen trash can. Not out of anger, out of something quieter. They weren't losing me. They were rewriting me. Sometimes absence isn't loud. It's quiet, almost invisible. But you feel it in your bones. And maybe, just maybe, I was ready to stop being edited. I knew what was inside before I opened it. The weight of the envelope gave it away. What hurt wasn't the invitation. It was the correction. The sky outside was the color of worn-out paper. Pollen lined the edges of my kitchen window like yellow dust, clinging as if even the air refused to forget. I set my tea to steep, but never touched it again. The envelope sat between my palms, pale cream, the ink too familiar to be anyone but her. I slid it open with the corner of a butter knife, slowly. My name was on the invitation, printed like everyone else's, but someone had crossed it out with blue pen. A casual stroke, just enough pressure to leave an indent. Underneath, a sticky note in Mom's unmistakable slant. Immediate family only. Thanks for understanding. Mom. Understanding what exactly? I left the card on the counter and opened the drawer beneath the microwave. Dozens of birthday cards stared up at me. Unreturned, unopened, and unsent ones too. Each envelope still sealed, each sticker carefully chosen, back when I still believed small gestures could mend something. I leaned back against the fridge and stared at the ceiling like it might offer answers. Then I remembered the box, top shelf of the coat closet, a small shoebox wrapped in old newspaper. Inside, photos, clipped articles, a paper napkin Ivy once scribbled a poem on when she was 12, and a photo from the Clark County Fair where I'd stood at the edge of the family lineup. That corner had been cut out. Literally. Scissors had trimmed me from the memory. I held it for a long time. Then I got the tape. Piece by piece, I aligned the edges. My hand in Ivy's. My smile, off-center, back where it belonged. I smoothed the tape carefully, letting the seams show, letting the damage remain visible. That's when I remembered Daniel. From the clinic. His mother had come in for a follow-up and he'd waited in the hallway with a crossword. Later, he returned alone. "I recognized you," he'd said gently, "from a photo once. Looked like someone had been cut out." He didn't ask questions, he just offered something I didn't know I needed. "If you ever want your voice in the room," he had said, "I'll make sure it's heard." Now I placed the mended photo in a new envelope along with a letter. Not bitter, just clear. The words had taken me weeks to write, not to explain, but to remember. I tucked both into a soft velvet pouch, then into the gift bag I had kept aside. The same one I brought to the ceremony, though no one had saved me a seat. The tea on the table had gone cold. I picked it up, then set it down again. "I won't speak at the podium," I said aloud to no one, "but I'll still be heard." And for the first time in a long while, I believed it. No one clapped for me, but I wasn't there for the applause. The afternoon sun hovered low, casting a honeyed haze over the lawn. Rows of white folding chairs shimmered under the heat, their metal legs sinking slightly into the grass. The smell of sun-warmed programs, sunscreen, and cut flowers hung in the air. I sat in the back, far from the main seating area, where parents dabbed at their eyes and siblings shifted restlessly in pressed shirts. My name wasn't on the list. My chair wasn't marked. Still, I came. The gift bag rested in my lap, modest navy blue with soft handles. Inside it, the taped-together photo, a letter folded twice, and a tiny velvet pouch. My hand stayed curled around the handles like I was keeping something from drifting away. From my spot, Ivy looked like a flicker of white against a sea of crimson gowns. Her cap tilted just right. She beamed. Mom sat 3 rows from the stage, pearls gleaming against her floral blouse, clapping in perfect rhythm with the rest. I saw no sign of hesitation in her face, no shadow of absence acknowledged. Names echoed from the microphone, each followed by applause. Professor Mallory stepped up once more, voice warm as ever. "And now," he said, "our valedictorian." Ivy's name rang out, followed by a cheer. Students stood. Phones raised. A banner fluttered above the platform. "Class of 2023, the future begins now." I stayed seated. When the final name was called and the toss of caps had just begun to swell in the crowd's throat, I rose, quietly. The gift bag swung gently in my hand as I stepped between folding chairs. No one looked my way. I didn't expect them to. I didn't want them to. Near the stage was a low table dressed in white linen. It held cards, bouquets, a wrapped box with pink ribbon, and 2 small balloons tied to a basket. I slipped between the rows and approached the edge of the table like someone returning a borrowed thing. I placed the gift bag gently beside Ivy's bouquet. It leaned slightly toward the flowers, as if whispering to them. I didn't add a note. I didn't need to. When I turned to walk back, I saw Daniel standing under the shade of a magnolia near the side aisle. He hadn't seen me arrive, but he saw me now. Our eyes met. He placed a hand over his chest and gave a single nod. Not of greeting, but of recognition. Like he had promised, my voice was in the room. That nod held more kindness than any word Margaret had written me in years. I walked past the chairs, past the clusters of parents posing for pictures, past the chatter about dinner reservations and scholarship offers. My steps were steady. The side aisle led out toward the gravel lot where pickup trucks and aging sedans shared space with SUVs bearing out-of-state plates. No one called my name. No one followed. And for the first time, it didn't feel like being forgotten. It felt like arriving. The sun fell behind the trees just as I reached the parking edge. I glanced back once, not for approval, not for regret, just to see the bag, still visible on the table. A truth left in plain sight. Whether they wanted to see it or not, I heard her before I saw her. "You kept all of these?" I turned. Ivy stood a few feet away, still in her gown, the cap sliding slightly off her head. In her hands was the navy gift bag, now open, the edges soft from being held too tightly. Her fingers gripped the photo at the top. Our photo, taped back together, the seams visible under the sunlight. She stepped forward and lowered the bag to the ground between us. She reached inside and pulled out the small box, lifting the lid. A few birthday cards slid free, falling gently onto the asphalt. One still had the pharmacy sticker from the clinic where I worked, the corner smudged with something that looked like tea. "You really sent these," she said quietly. "After everything?" "Every year," I said. "Didn't always get them back, but I kept trying." She knelt, almost without meaning to, and lifted one of the cards. It was from the year she turned 16, the one with the silver stars on the envelope. She turned it over in her hands like she was holding something fragile from another life. "I didn't mean to help them erase you," she murmured. Her eyes didn't meet mine. I didn't know how much of it was happening until it already had. "I know," I said, not unkindly, "but it helped them, so they let it happen." There was no accusation in my voice, just the weight of fact between us like a stone neither of us knew how to move. She pulled out the folded letter next, unfolded it slowly, read the first few lines under her breath, then aloud, her voice thin but steady. "I was 23. You were 15. That summer, I let you stay up late and braid my hair while we watched that ridiculous baking show. You told me you hated whipped cream but loved meringue, and I said that didn't make sense." I watched her read, and her voice trembled only once, right before the end. "I remember that day," she said softly, lowering the page. "The fair. I was scared. You stayed in the car the whole time. Because you asked me to." She looked at me then, really looked, like she was trying to see the edges again where I had once been cut away. "I can't promise anything," she whispered. "I don't know how to fix all of it." "I'm not here for promises," I said, "just truth." The breeze stirred a piece of paper across the lot, and we both watched it flutter. No one else lingered this far from the crowd now. The buzz of laughter and camera clicks had faded into a soft hum behind the building. Ivy reached down and gathered the cards back into the box, not hurried, just careful. She didn't hug me. I didn't ask her to. But when she stood, she left the gift bag in front of my car. "I thought you might want it back," she said. "But now I think maybe it belongs here." I nodded. "I'm not trying to rewrite anything," she added. "I know," I said. "I think that's the point." She turned then, walking back slowly toward the paved path, her shoulders lower than before, but not in defeat, just in release. I stayed beside the car, hands tucked into the sleeves of my cardigan. The air smelled faintly of magnolia and exhaust, summer and memory. The box sat between us still, even as she walked away. Not a wedge, a marker. Something had been returned, not all, but enough. I walked out the same door I came in, but this time, I didn't wonder if they noticed. A week had passed. The morning sun filtered softly through the blinds in my apartment, casting stripes across the kitchen table. The hum of the coffee maker filled the silence, slow and steady. Outside, a lawnmower buzzed faintly 2 streets over. Life continued, not louder, just clearer. I set my keys down and noticed the envelope. It sat on the edge of the table, plain and white, no return address. I hadn't seen it when I came in. Maybe the neighbor had slipped it under the door, or maybe I'd simply missed it in the shuffle of work and grocery bags. I recognized the handwriting before I opened it. "From now on," it read, "I won't let them tell it wrong again." There was no name. There didn't need to be. I ran my thumb over the edge of the card once, twice, then placed it on the table beside the coffee mug. I didn't smile. I just breathed, deep and quiet, like stepping into a room I used to be afraid of and realizing it no longer scared me. I went to the hallway closet and pulled down the box, the one with the birthday cards, the one that had held so many unopened envelopes and years I thought were lost. I opened it, slid the new note on top, then closed the lid with both hands. Not like sealing something away, but like placing it somewhere it could rest. The box went back on the shelf, not hidden, not buried, just kept. Later that day, I took down the photo from the fair, the one with the jagged edge where my corner had once been cut away. The tape lines were still visible, but that no longer bothered me. I found a simple frame, wiped the glass, and slid the photo inside. It wasn't perfect, but it was whole. I placed it on my desk, right beside the lamp and the old pen holder Dad gave me when I graduated nursing school. For a long moment, I just looked at it, the sunlight catching on the glossy paper. My face finally returned to the scene. Then, quietly, I whispered, "Now they'll remember, even if they don't say it out loud." And that was enough. Sometimes, what stays with us isn't the applause or the spotlight. It's the quiet act of choosing truth, even when no one asks for it. I didn't need their permission to be real. In families, silence can feel louder than words, and being forgotten can hurt more than being pushed away. But holding on to love without bitterness, that's where healing begins. We don't always get the version of love we deserve, but we can choose the version we offer. If this story reminded you of a moment you held onto your truth, I invite you to share it. Sometimes, just telling it out loud is enough.